The air inside the Dolphins facility feels heavy these days, and not just because of the losing streak or the ugly 1-5 record that's beginning to weigh like a stone. There's something more, something invisible but thick enough to cut through. This Monday, head coach Mike McDaniel tried to pull things back into order, standing in front of reporters and, for the first time, pushing back against his own quarterback. He didn't raise his voice, but the message was clear. Tua Tagovailoa's comments about teammates' commitment hit the wrong note. After Sunday's loss to the Chargers, Tua spoke his truth, or at least his version of it. He mentioned that some players show up late to the internal, player-only film sessions. Some, he said, don't show up at all. Those words, once released into the air, did what words always do when frustration meets microphones. They spread, twisted, expanded, found their way into every corner of the locker room. Suddenly, what was once quiet discontent turned into a headline. McDaniel didn't hide his irritation. After a loss, being the franchise quarterback, this is not the place to lay it out, he said. I think he understands that now. I don't think there was bad intent, but there was a misunderstanding about what those player-led video sessions were. It sounded like a coach trying to protect his guy while still making it known that the line was crossed. And that's where things start to unravel. When your quarterback, the face of your franchise, is the one questioning the effort of his teammates, the dynamic shifts. What's said behind closed doors suddenly spills into daylight, and daylight isn't kind. Inside the locker room, people start to wonder who he was talking about. They start to guess. They whisper. Maybe they look at each other a little differently. It's not the kind of thing a 1-5 team can afford. Losing already burns through trust like fire through dry wood. And now, that fire's got fuel. McDaniel tried to douse it. He said Tua's frustration was understandable, that he's been reaching out to teammates since the night before, trying to clear the air. He described it as a learning moment, the kind that comes with the crown of being a franchise quarterback. Heavy, uncomfortable, but necessary. He even added that the team's attention has already shifted to the next challenge, the Cleveland Browns, coming up on October 19th. I have plenty to worry about, McDaniel said. Those comments are not one of them. Our focus is on our meetings, on fixing mistakes, and finding a way to win. But you could feel it, the tension underneath the calm delivery. You could see it in the body language, the pauses between words. There's the version of the story McDaniel tells publicly, and there's the one playing out quietly behind those locker room doors. And which one is truer? That depends on who you ask, because the numbers don't lie. This is the Dolphins' worst start since 2021, back when Tua was still a rookie learning the ropes. They're not dead last in the AFC East only because they managed to beat the Jets a few weeks ago, a win that now feels like a distant echo. The offense ranks among the league's worst, averaging just 289 yards per game. The defense gives up nearly 390 yards a game, third worst in the entire NFL. Those are numbers that make a coach lose sleep. And Tua? He's been inconsistent at best. 7 interceptions in 6 games, averaging just over 200 yards passing per game. That's not the stat line of someone in command. It's the stat line of someone searching, pressing, maybe even cracking. Which brings us back to those meetings. Those quiet rooms where film plays, players talk, and accountability is supposed to take root. If guys are really showing up late or skipping, it says more about the team's pulse than any post-game quote ever could. McDaniel called them player-led sessions, which makes it worse, in a way. These weren't mandatory, coach-scheduled sit-downs. These were supposed to be moments of leadership, initiative, ownership. And now they're a symbol of division. When Tua said what he said, it probably came from frustration, maybe even a desire to spark urgency. But words like that don't just inspire, they divide. The room starts to split between those who nod in agreement and those who feel thrown under the bus. And somewhere in the middle, the coaches try to glue everything back together before the cracks become fractures. McDaniel's reaction, calm but firm, felt like an attempt to hold it all together. He needs to protect Tua, but also the unity of the locker room. He knows the team can't survive a fracture, not when it's already drowning on the field. There's a kind of desperation in how he speaks about focus and moving on. It's the sound of someone trying to stop a slide before it becomes free fall. But deep down, You can't help but ask, are they already in free fall? You can fix game plans. You can change coverages. You can shuffle lineups. But can you repair trust once it's broken in public? Can a quarterback walk back something that teammates heard loud and clear? These things don't vanish with one apology or a quiet talk. They linger. They become looks in the huddle, the silence after a bad throw, the hesitation before a high five. Every team talks about being a family, but families fight, and when they do, you find out which bonds actually hold. This is the kind of moment that tests that. The Dolphins aren't just losing games, they're losing shape. The offense looks uncertain, the defense looks tired, and now leadership looks shaky. It's not about one player, one mistake, one bad press conference. It's about all of it. The mix of frustration, fatigue, and pressure that's beginning to boil over. Maybe that's what makes the story sting. The sense that something once promising is slipping away, not because of talent, but because of disconnect. The Dolphins were supposed to be past this stage. The drama, the finger-pointing, the doubts about commitment. McDaniel brought creativity, energy, and a sense of unity when he arrived. But even the most creative playbook can't fix a team that's unsure of itself. What happens now? Maybe Tua's late-night calls did help smooth things over. Maybe players came together, hashed it out, said the right things, promised to be better. Or maybe it just pushed everything deeper under the surface, waiting for the next loss to bring it all bubbling back up. Because when a team's losing, every small frustration becomes louder. Every missed meeting, every wrong route, every misread block, it all starts to feel personal. You can tell McDaniel's trying to project calm. He's doing what a good coach does, control the noise, redirect focus. But behind that calm, there's got to be concern. He's not just managing a football team. He's managing emotions, pride, and belief. And right now, belief is fragile. They'll say the focus is on the Browns, and maybe it is. But the truth is, this next game isn't just about the standings. It's about identity. Do they play like a team still fighting? Or do they drift like one that's already accepted the story being written for them? You can sense how close they are to that line, the one between struggling and spiraling. One more bad performance, one more public crack, and things could turn. The cameras will keep asking questions, and the answers will start to sound thinner, less certain. That's how teams unravel. Quietly at first, then all at once. For now, McDaniel's trying to hold it together, trying to convince everyone that this is just noise. But there's a difference between blocking out the noise and pretending not to hear it. The Dolphins can't ignore what's happening inside their own walls. They have to face it, not in press conferences, but in those same meetings Tua talked about, the ones that some players apparently think aren't worth showing up for. Because until they fix that, until they find that shared pulse again, nothing changes. Not the record, not the energy, not the feeling that this team is drifting towards something it doesn't want to admit. And the longer it goes, the harder it becomes to pull back. You watch them now, and you can't help but wonder, are they really still together, or just pretending to be until the next loss proves otherwise?